What is going on, snipers? Naeem Al-Obeidi here. I hope all of y'all are enjoying your day today. For some of you, it's Easter. For some of you, it's April Fool's Day. But nonetheless, let's dive into our daily cryptocurrency update, talking about Bitcoin's technical analysis, touching on the Lightning Network and the progression of that, and how it might be implemented and integrated with Litecoin, and how it could also deem Bitcoin Cash useless, but also talking about Ethereum and Vitalik Buterin proposing a possible hard cap, and then also finalizing and talking about Verge and why it's up 20% today. So looking at our market, you can see Bitcoin is currently worth about 579,000 Lamborghinis, while Ethereum is only worth about 188,000 Lamborghinis. Ripple at about just under 100,000 Lamborghinis. Not much. I would rather take Bitcoin at this point, but I'm just messing with you. This is an April Fool's joke that CoinMarketCap is pulling. I think it's awesome. Some might argue it's childish, but I think it's funny, so it's pretty cool. You can actually look at Lamborghini value of these coins. But let's transition to the actual Bitcoin technical analysis here and talk about the double bottom that we've been watching over the past couple of weeks. First and foremost, we're going to draw a Fibonacci retracement. If y'all are not familiar with this, this determines potential support and resistance levels. And you can see how we're really popping out from that 0.23 Fibonacci retracement right here. And we're seeing some support. However, it's not showing strength like we saw previously where we hit that bottom, which does indicate that it is extremely bearish, and we're most likely going to see further downside. You can see these bullish or these bearish wicks that actually happened here. If we pull up the 4-hour, you can see a better view of that. And in my opinion, like we talked about in yesterday's video, because we didn't see this sharp strength of buyers come in like we did in the initial run here, in my opinion, we're still going to see further downside. Unfortunately, that's the case. Even in the RSI, we haven't hit under 30 on the 1 day. Remember, under 30 is really what we're looking for in terms of being confident that there's going to be a reversal, and we have not yet hit that level. If we were to actually pull up ETH USD, you can see we're also extremely oversold right now. So what does that mean? Well, there's a couple different things. In my opinion, it's a good time to dollar cost average your position into Bitcoin from 6,800 all the way down to the known support of 5,900. But anything below that, in my opinion, is extremely risky because we don't know what the further downside could be if it breaks this key support level. And as a technical analyst, managing risk and reward is extremely important. As a matter of fact, every single one of your trades should follow a risk and reward algorithm that you've set in place for yourself as a trader. And what I mean by that is it doesn't have to be a complex algorithm, but let's say we were to set up a long position right here. You want to make sure that your risk, this red here, is less than your potential reward. Your upside always has to be high, because as a swing trader, you want to make sure that even if you have losses, they are minimal losses, so that whenever you have a good break and a good call with high upside, it can always make up for those losses. So looking at like a 3-hour chart, for example, we have a lot more upside right now than downside. So if we were to put an entry point here at current price levels, you can see our downside is very minimal because we can easily set up a stop loss right under that 5,900 level where we know there's strong support. And as long as it doesn't breach that, then we have all of this upside potential here in this horizontal channel that's forming with a resistance at around 11.7. So we're definitely not going up to 11.7 in the next couple of days, but we're most likely going to see further downside, hopefully double bottoming at 5,900 to then see a pullback. But if it sees further downside, that's where I'd be a little bit more worried. But what's interesting about this MACD, if we pull up the 4-hour, you can see how we're starting to see less and less sellers here in comparison to what we saw with the major sell-off in December. You can see how if we were to actually draw out this pennant wedge formation forming here with the MACD, how we're starting to squeeze towards a known apex. And understand, when you get towards an apex, which is the end of these wedges, that's really where you'll see a significant breakout. So right now, we're looking pretty bullish on the MACD in terms of the histogram, which the histogram are these pink areas of this MACD, and you can see how it's forming that squeeze approaching the end of that apex, seeing a little bit of buyers right now. But this also validates our 1-day MACD, where you can also see we're starting to see less and less sellers. We can actually draw this on the 1-day too. Sellers are being exhausted. So in that case, in my opinion, as these sellers get more and more exhausted, as you can see here, we're going to have a more of a confident prediction on where Bitcoin is going to be headed, because as sellers start to decrease, what happens is buyers will now start to come into the market seeing Bitcoin as a steal, as a discount, as an asset that is undervalued. And then once all that money pours in, we'll see strong strength. And I think that's going to happen once we can finally double bottom out at 5,900. If not, then the strategy is to set up a strong stop loss and wait out the market until we can find further patterns to go ahead and determine entry and exit points for the future. Now, to transition into Verge, let's look at Verge. Why is it up 20%? Well, here's something I'll tell you right now. If you're following us on Twitter, we announced this on March 28th. We're actually posting news updates on Twitter constantly, things that can move the market. You can see here on March 28th, we posted this spread it. XVG Verge had 61 retweets, 100 likes, and it pretty much said that this partnership was going to lead to a breakout, and you can see how it's broken out 20% with their upcoming announcement of their major partnership. And that's why fundamental analysis is also extremely important. The best places to find fundamental analysis, in my opinion, would be Telegram groups like ours, staying up to date with YouTube channels that are on point, Twitter, things of that nature, not necessarily, you know, these news stations or these news outlets that are really looking to get more traffic than actual knowledge and value out to their audiences. So looking at Verge's price, obviously, if you were able to take advantage of that, good for you. Let's transition to the Bitcoin Lightning Network. Obviously, y'all know about the Lightning Network. If you don't know, it's a update meant to be put on top of the current blockchain of Bitcoin to enhance transaction speeds and then also help with scalability issues. What's interesting about it is it's now surpassing Bitcoin Cash, and they're also integrating it with Litecoin. They actually have this little tip via Lightning app that was just released here, and you can see how they have integrated Bitcoin and Lightning payments on the Lightning Network. Litecoin always being Bitcoin's little brother. But what's interesting about this, more so in my opinion, is it's surpassed the node count of Bitcoin Cash, as you can see. And now BCH is now less prevalent than Bitcoin's Lightning Network nodes. And BCH is also feeling that with its prices. As you can see, if we were to pull up BCH here, it's pretty down right now, down 5%. But if you look at its overall price level from this 1 year chart, you can see how we are at these really low levels that we saw back around early December and even in late November. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens to Bitcoin Cash as Lightning Network gets implemented. It's cool that they're actually making these integrations and these advances towards the Lightning Network to ensure this could be something that could transition and transform Bitcoin into something that could be adopted by the masses, because once again, mass adoption is really what we're looking towards here. And if y'all are familiar with how a company or product can reach mass adoption, there's actually a really good book called Crossing the Chasm that talks about the 4 phases of mass adoption. It starts with early adopters, it moves into innovators, then there's the majority, and then the laggards. And the majority is actually cut into 2 pieces, early majority and late majority. But we're currently, in my opinion, in the early adoption phase of cryptocurrency, being the fact that the Vitalik Buterins, the Roger Ver's were really the innovators and the early coders of Bitcoin and Litecoin and other coins. But now transitioning to early adoption, where we're seeing all these other projects, concepts, and things of that nature come out, I think that the Lightning Network is going to definitely help Bitcoin cross the chasm from early adoption into early majority, which is a very, very tough chasm to cross. And it's what most businesses will not be able to cross. Most businesses will fail within that chasm. But in my opinion, cryptocurrency and the blockchain revolution is so significant and it's so revolutionary that with these implementations like Lightning Network, it will most likely and almost most definitely see an early majority and a late majority phase, which is really where we'll start seeing institutional money come into the market, and that's when the whales come in. And the reason I say that is because of the fact that Bitcoin blockchain cryptocurrency enhances our current systems so much to the fact that it almost needs to be adopted. And what I mean by that is, think about the early days of the internet when it was all dial-up, right? We're in the early days of blockchain where it's still dial-up. Transaction speeds are low, scalability is an issue, and it's the same exact thing that the internet experienced early in its years, and then eventually was able to transition and mature itself to what it's become now. as this huge globalized platform, and I think blockchain is going to follow the same suit in that manner. Now let's transition into our last story, which is talking about Vitalik Buterin proposing a possible hard cap for Ethereum at 120 million coins. This is a question that I'd like to ask each and every one of y'all to discuss in the comments below, because what do y'all think about having a hard cap for Ethereum? Does this also change the way that you look at other coins and projects in terms of determining whether or not the max supply matter? Because it does to a certain degree depending on what project, and I think with Ethereum this would help, and I think it would definitely add intrinsic value to its coin, because with limiting its supply, that allows for current holders to be confident with the fact that there's not going to be more of their coins printed, just like the US dollar and the inflationary issues that we have where US dollars are printed over and over again. It's something that we can prevent here as well by limiting the supply. And you can see with this article, I'm not going to go through all of it, but it talks about the exact supply being at 120.2 million, and then also talks about how they typically had an open-ended policy where 18 million Ether were allowed to be issued every year, but now they're seeing this as a better transition, as they're going to also transition from a proof of work concept of mining Ethereum to a proof of stake concept where now you can earn Ethereum. So you can see here they're saying that it's going to ensure the economic sustainability of the Ethereum coin, and I think that's an awesome proposal by Vitalik. And like I said, if you have a good quarterback, you're going to get to the end zone, whether you like it or not. If it's a Hail Mary, if it's a run, you're going to get there. And in this case, Vitalik is making proposals, bringing his project to fruition towards his vision, and he's not afraid to propose radical things like this in order to do that. And I am very bullish about Ethereum long term. I think being one of the largest ICO platforms and applications there are, it is going to have a lot of sustainability long term and a lot of development, just like Microsoft and Apple did early on in its technology. And with that being said, thank you all so much for watching. By the way, I think we're going to get a ton of comments about Ethereum. I understand we've got EOS, we've got Cardano, we've got all these other de-application platforms that are good, but Ethereum's the original. It's been around the longest and it's had the most use case. So for now, we're going to be looking at Ethereum, but later down the road, something can come up like Neo, for example, and that could be the revolutionary platform. So with that being said, hopefully y'all enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and like always, snipers out.